So, welcome back to the Simple Cyber Defense. This week, we are going to be talking about the age verification laws and the possible VPN bans that are being talked about. I'm also, again, joined this week by Brian and Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
That's okay. So, this is a very wild topic that's going on. So, the EFF is talking about how age verification laws are becoming very privacy risks.
Mhm.
And if you don't know, the EFF is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They are a very good organization that's like basically apolitical, who talks about various security risks, mostly by the privacy side. And they do a lot of lobbying and other influences to try to make things more privacy focused, so that if a company tries to step out of the line and become like basically privacy risk and spy on people, they come in to try to balance the scales, try to make it more private, and to also get rid of any bad laws. Most likely, these age verification laws are something they're going to focus a lot on. Um, so, what do you know about these age verification laws?
I think it was it Wisconsin where it was originally started? I think
Yeah,
the lawmakers,
but
yeah,
and now we got up to 25 different states that have passed these age verification laws.
yeah. It's another case of lawmakers not understanding the technology that they
Technology,
are
yeah.
trying
Well, either
to build
that
laws for.
or they're just trying to get more and more people's data because they realize that data is very, very powerful and lucrative.
Yeah, I hope not, because I would
Yeah,
say
it
one
would
of
be a very
yeah, I would say one of my biggest concerns with this proposal is the honeypot that it would create with
yeah.
people's like real names, date of birth, driver's license, because it would have to keep that list in
Mhm.
order to know who's of age, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so it yeah
Even though they do claim that they delete the photos as soon as the age verifications happen, but I don't really believe that, because there was an app called, I think, the T app,
hmm
which was basically an app where women can come together and talk about any bad experience through dating that they're having, so that
yeah
they can warn people, hey, this person's a creep and whatnot. But in order to get into the app, they had to verify that they were a woman by giving them their driver's license and pictures. And
yeah
what happened? The data leak happened,
got
and
leaked.
all of those driver's licenses have been exposed.
Yeah,
The same could happen with this age verification stuff. It's like, it's just a ticking time bomb. It's not if it will happen, it's when it will happen, because these data leaks are becoming more and more prevalent because companies are not putting in the steps to protect the data, because in their eyes it's cheaper just to pay the fine than to have all these safeguards on the data.
and I wouldn't expect the government to do any better than the private
Yeah.
companies. But yeah,
And
you think about abuse survivors, you think about journalists, activists, anyone that's a vulnerable population that needs to keep their identity
yeah,
concerned. It's a concern. Yeah,
it's like, granted, even though right now it's kind of being proposed as a way to verify people from going to adult websites to protect children, but we all know that it could easily slip into other things too. And
hmm
it and I think if they are successful in doing these age verifications on these adult sites, I'm sure they'll expand it to other things too.
yeah, yeah. It's only a first step. That's certainly a concern.
And then the idea of a VPN ban is also scary too, because a lot of these lawmakers are like, well, people could just bypass these age verification laws just by downloading a VPN and go into a different, or say they're in a different location. And yes, that could be true, but I think most of the people using VPNs are not using it to skirt tail age verification laws.
Yeah, so you hear about like what the VPN sponsors on a lot of YouTube videos,
Hmm.
like, oh, get around this and watch Netflix in your country. That's actually not what most people use VPNs for, though. That's just what the advertisers, the people say on YouTube
Yeah,
for the general audience. I use it every day at work. It's used just if I'm at a cafe or a Starbucks and I don't want I'm worried about packet
data
sniffing,
exposure.
like we talked about on the last episode. I'm going to use a VPN because then I know all my traffic's going to be tunneled through an encrypted channel, and I don't have to worry about leaking anyone sniffing on that local network. There's a lot of real practical reasons outside in business, in privacy, to use VPNs on a daily basis. That is a legitimate reason. That's not trying to circumvent like protection laws or trying to circumvent like showing that you're not in Mumbai, India instead of like Wisconsin. That's the case they try to make. I think there's enough real cases for VPN usage outside of just circumventing.
Yeah, I think the top one is, like you said, the cafe protections and the business aspects. Because I know in like my company, we use VPNs a lot for remote workers to VPN into the network inside the company
Hmm.
because you don't want to expose your company's network to the outside because then anyone could go in there and steal their top secrets and whatnot. And businesses need to protect their data just as much as everyone else needs to protect their data.
Yeah, I mean, even so, when I go on travel, I have like a home NAS server with like pictures and files and stuff. I want to be able to access that. I don't want to keep my NASs public though. I don't want that drive to be publicly accessible. So yeah, I use a Tailscale, which is another like VPN protocol, to set up so I can get back home and get into my home network and see things on my home network without having to expose that. So yeah, it's VPNs are essential to everyday businesses and everyday needs for sure.
Yeah, and this ban, I think, is just too narrow-minded because everyone's focusing like, "Oh, we gotta protect the kids because you gotta stop those people from breaking the laws by, you know, navigating these ID laws," which
Yeah.
is very stupid. But, um, so what would you think would be ways that the everyday person can combat this?
Uh, I know it's
Yeah,
like the tried and true obvious one, but reach out to your lawmakers. Seriously,
yeah,
they do listen and they do get polling information based on how many calls and emails they get. So being noisy, whether it be on social media or reaching out to them directly, is always a great thing, great first step.
yeah, I agree. Because if enough people do make enough noise,
Hmm.
they will listen. Just look
Yeah,
at some of the things happen over the years of people talking about different topics, whether it's gay rights or trans rights or COVID vaccines. Everything that's happened in this world, a lot of change happened because people made noise. Whether it was good or bad, it still made a change.
yeah. Um, and you're undermining everyday security practices. You're not closing a porn loophole, which is what
Yeah,
they want to attribute it to. So I think being loud about that, people like us or anyone that has knowledge around this topic, giving that knowledge to people that maybe don't have it, and then just being loud and vocal around why this is bad. Um, it's unfortunate a situation where people that don't understand the technology are afraid of it. And that's what is happening with lawmakers is they're trying to block an unknown, because they don't actually understand what the technology is or how it can be useful, or how it's practical in everyday uses. And that's a real unfortunate. It will have if it does pass and it does extend beyond, like VPN blocking all of it in Wisconsin or wherever else. That's gonna have a lot of unintended consequences to businesses and to people around the world with their data. I mean, it's a real concern.
yeah. Because I'm sure everyone can say that we are all for protecting kids,
Hmm.
but
Absolutely.
banning VPNs is not going to protect kids at all.
Yeah.
It's just not, like you said,
It's a
it's just
false
going,
it's a false choice. Yeah.
yeah,
Either you give up privacy and anonymity or you don't care about kids, and that's not the
yeah, it's
reality.
not
There are
true.
other solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I know with my kids, they're starting to get like promptings about age verifications for them. And it kind of
Mhm.
makes me uneasy because like they want a picture of my kid. Like, well,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with this? And I had to make the tough choice. Like, I'm not going to let you do this because, again, I don't know what they're going to do with these photos. Are they going to delete them after they're done? Or are there some database that can be leaked out by anyone at any time? And again, like I said, I'm all for protecting kids, but these laws are not going to protect the kids.
Yeah, it's funny because when you look at the flip side of this, where you have HIPAA protections, you have PCI protections, like protecting of PII data, your personal identifiable information. The government isn't always great at imposing fines or levying restrictions against companies that do break those protections. So if the government isn't willing to enforce the protections for privacy that already exist, how can we how can we expect the government to actually adhere to them themselves? They've already
Yeah.
proven that they can't and they don't in some cases. There's been IRS breaches. There's been other data that's been leaked. That's a concern, right? Like
Mhm.
this is only, as we talked about earlier, only building a larger honeypot
Yeah.
of data.
Well, just look at the Equifax breach, one of the world's largest breaches of everyone's customer data, basically, or at least a large chunk of it, if not everyone. And what really happened to them? They just got a slap on the wrist and they're still doing business.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary, man. The amount of the companies that are allowed to get away with just giving out data without real consequence. Yeah, there's endless cases of this happening. You go on to haveibeenpwned.com, right? And you can see how many how often your data is leaked online. And it's pretty consistent. Pretty consistent.
And then you can go into have I been pwned? There's also a section where you can actually test your password
Mhm.
and see if it isn't a data breach or not. And there's been a couple of times. Yeah, there's a couple of times I did put in old passwords that I changed years ago, and it's like, oh shoot, it's been in these many breaches. Good thing I changed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you worry about like the thing is, I worry about like the people that are vulnerable, the abuse victims, the people that need to hide their identity for legitimate reasons because they have a
Reasons, yeah.
stalker, they have people in their past that are trying to reach out to them, they have, that they have issues with, or they're just activists that are, that are fighting for a fight that they believe in. They're doing it within the confines of the law, but they want to be protecting of their identity because there are crazy people in the world. The minute you open that up, you know, and you just allow that data to be collected in a single source, that adds real risk to everyone. Not even the children. I mean, obviously the children too, but people outside of it, basically anyone, anyone is now at risk, and you don't, it's unintended, you don't even know all the full consequences of that, what could actually happen, or how that data could be manipulated or used. And that's the scariest part for me is the foresight. Like, we don't even have the foresight to really understand how big of a deal that could be, or what how that could be used.
Or even like we talked about last time with the AI leakage. The same thing happens with these types of personal data that, like your face, you can't really change your face that easily.
Yeah.
And if your driver's license or social security number or whatever identifier they use to prove your age gets out there, it's pretty much hard to stop it or even change it because a
Yeah.
lot of these things that they're asking for are unchangeable, like biometrics. And
Yeah, your facial structure when they take a picture. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you're not going to change that unless you're having a ton of
a ton
surgery
of
done or something.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, and so, like, let's say the VPN even gets, let's say this law passes, they create this database. Even still, I don't think it does what they want, because you will still have people that will get around it. You could still do SSH tunnels. You could still build your
yeah,
own local self-hosted VPN. They can't stop that traffic. You're still going to have people that are going to bypass it, and those people might be bad actors. They might not all be. They might be, well-meaning. But the point is, like, even if the law passes, it's not going to stop what they're trying to stop. It's only going to stop probably the majority of Americans that, or the majority of people that don't have enough knowledge to do it on their own, or to be
yeah.
safe on their own. So all they're going to do is just erode security, um, and make the internet a less safe place to be, unfortunately.
Well, they even did a study like after these age verifications come with a lot of these porn sites, what people ended up doing was instead of going to the legitimate ones that are actually following the laws, they're actually going to more sketchy ones
Mm,
that didn't really care about the laws and just showed anyone anything. But then they were filled with malware and other nasty
yeah.
things that infected their computers. So it's like, yeah, it's on paper, it's a great idea to try to limit kids' exposure to these materials, but at the same time, you have to do it in a smart way that's not going to affect people who are not even watching that stuff, or even to not a way to expose yourself so vulnerably.
And I think those, yeah, the when you get to the non-large sites, you're also dealing with what could be revenge porn, child pornography, other things that are just, you know, snuff or whatever, like stuff that's just horrible that you don't want your kids to see, but now your kids are going to seek that out, or potentially could seek that out because they're maybe looking for this content and they go to find it elsewhere. And it's still going to exist even on Snapchat or Twitter or whatever. There's always going to be a community, unfortunately, that exists like that. So
Or even go to the dark
yeah,
web. I'm sure people
yep,
will turn to that too.
that's true. Yeah.
So, like I said, I think the best thing people can do is start educating themselves about
Hmm.
privacy, why it matters, and find out who your local legislators are and kind of make as much noise as you can saying, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to give up my privacy for something that's not even going to be protecting kids all that much. It may like protect like like a handful, like a couple, like 4 or 5 different kids, but it's not going to do the majority of them.
And I would say outside, like, there are other alternatives to the VPN ban. Invest with your kids in digital literacy. You know, parents can work with their kids, recognize predatory behavior, scams, manipulation, that sort of thing. Use parental tools. There are, you know, like Life 360. There's a lot of good parental tools out there that can help lock down, and that goes on the individual parent. Obviously, I know that not all parents have different levels of parenting. That's fine. Um, but talk with your kids, you know, have that open discussion and support them. And then outside of that, funding mental health, school counselors, school support for kids, that sort of thing can also help.
Yeah. Like I said, Apple and even Google are starting to get better and better with their parental
Hmm.
controls on their devices, even. So you don't even have to get a subscription to like the Life 360 if you can't afford it. There are even tools built into these devices that you can do. You might have to do a little bit of Googling to see how it works, but I think it's worthwhile investing in that so that you can actually protect the kids. So those type of tools, I think will be more beneficial protecting kids than these age verification laws and VPN bans and just
Hmm.
short-sighted things that have unintentional consequences.
Yeah, I have screen time set up for my kids. I'm sure there are ways around it some of the time, but
Yeah,
for the most part, I can see the websites they go on. And again, I have an open dialogue with them. We talk about websites and the consequences of, you know, putting things online or looking at things online. And I think that's the important part, is having that open dialogue and using the tools that are available to you.
and we all have to remember the old saying, "The internet is forever." I don't know how many times I've seen people like say, "Can you delete that?" and delete, and then ends up on like 20 different sites. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought it was deleted," but then
Uh,
some
yeah,
picture 20 years ago pops up and it's like, "Oh no." Or
it's
how many celebrities have
the Barbara
like,
Streisand effect, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah,
say
yeah,
that kind of thing. Like celebrities who had
yeah.
like questionable things happen years ago, but then somehow pops up on the internet 20 years later and ruins their career.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I was I'm lucky to a degree. I was born in the age of, we had internet, but it was dial up, and not
Hmm.
everything was quite online now.
Yeah,
Nowadays, everything a kid
everything's
does,
online.
yeah, is online and will be forever. Wayback Machine exists. There's other websites that do caching and
And even if
downloading.
you
Yeah.
delete it on one site, doesn't mean
Yep.
it's not on 20 other sites that you don't know about.
Exactly. And it'll stay there forever. So yeah, you need to be very mindful of the information that you put out there.
Yeah. And also, really do strongly encourage people who are really interested. The EFF is a great starting point
Hmm.
tool to use. Like I said, they have a ton of information and ton of different tools and articles about different privacy things. They also have different sections dedicated to browser extensions that can help you with your privacy and also how to set it up.
Yeah. EFF is a great nonprofit. They've been around, I think, since like the early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a great organization that helps technology, moving technology forward for everybody, um, and helping with activism and that sort of thing. Free and open internet, right? That's the idea. Safe, but free and open.
yeah. And like I said, there's plenty of other tools that we have today that can contribute to that. But unfortunately, these politicians live or probably were born well before the internet was alive and don't really understand it, which is another sad thing, which I think more younger people should run for office so that
Yeah,
we could have a better representations of people who understands technology.
agreed. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that run to be lawmakers, yeah, are just aren't interested or are just um I guess old enough that they just aren't of that world and just
Cool.
aren't
Yeah.
sure. So they're scared of what they don't know, and so
Hmm.
they recoil at it, and they have law backgrounds. So hey, we'll build a law around it, and that's not always the right solution.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes it's supporting work too. It's not just building constraints. It's building support and help around the issues that you're trying to address.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up this week's episode. If you have anything else you want to add,
No, no, I think that's it. Appreciate it.
okay,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. And links will be in the description about everything we talked about. And if you have any suggestions, go onto our website and leave any comments and suggestions, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. It was great having you here, Ryan, and hope everyone has a safe holiday season. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you later. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Simple Cyber Defense Security Updates. Join us next time when we dive into more security issues, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Plus, if you have a topic suggestion or want to support the podcast, stop by our website at simplecyberdefense.com.